I don't know what this is. It's just some random yarn.
Hey, hi, and also hello. I am Elle of Blackwood Knits on Instagram. My pronouns are they, them, and I am coming to you from my apartment in the North Shore of Massachusetts. I'm here with the as promised dance through my fiber stash. Uh, I recorded this yesterday evening just as the sun was setting, so I was starting to lose the light, but you get some wonderful golden hour stash uh, show off. I also talk a little bit about the philosophy of stash and my approach to it. So I'm eager to hear what your opinions are as well. Do you see your stash as your own personal fiber shop, or is it a to-do list for you? Um, do you have some other philosophies toward your own personal collection? I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment. Don't forget, do all the YouTube things, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, all those fun things that put this in front of people's eyes. Appreciate it every day. All right, and I'll leave it to yesterday me to take it from here.
Right, it is a bit toasty, so I'm going to try and stay out of the shot as much as possible. But I promised that I would take a look at what fiber has been living in my stash. Quick little diversion. My cat is in a submarine. So the way I've sort of organized my stash is more purpose driven than it is anything else. This basket right here is sort of my main project at the moment. This is what I've got on one bobbin. That's the rest of the fiber for that. And it's complement to these two, which get applied together. I've already done half of those. I was going to finish this next. That's probably first on my tour de fleece. That one lives in this basket next to my wheel. So that's actually in its particular space. Don't worry about the mess up here. That's all of my other stuff that usually just lives all over the coffee table. I've just shoved it all into that corner so that I have space to show off some of my fabric. So this one has all kinds of dark, uh, fleecy bits, mostly washed. I believe this bag here is unwashed, but everything else has been washed and was acquired across a couple of different sources. A couple of them from Good Clean Fiber. Uh, this big bag is from Balsa Fibers. This is probably my favorite. This is from Green Coat Ranch. This is also Good Clean Fiber. So all of these are also tied to one project. And that was one that I've made a couple of, I guess, sample sized skeins, hence the sample knitting naughty. And just some knitting needles live in the bag permanently. But those are all to the same project. And that is why they are living together. And they are going to be used. I'm going to blend all of those. They're different wool types, different, like I said, different sources of fiber, but they're all getting blended together into one yarn. This hodgepodge. It's actually the best word for this basket entirely because it is mostly odds and ends. So this is like I have a couple of bobbins that aren't quite finished, but I have the fiber that went into them in case I want to just add on to it. This, which I used part of the yarn from, and that is actually this bullseye bat. It's kind of gotten a little squished, but it's a bullseye bat from Loop. Uh, and I don't know yet what I'm doing with that. This is a couple of things that got put together again, similar to the bag with the dark yarn, the dark fiber. They got carded together into the same yarn. And I just finished a significant spin of that one. I still have some more, so I was toying with the idea of continuing that, but I don't feel the need to at the moment. This is not as exciting as the container would make you think. It is a drop spindle and what I affectionately call the toothpaste yarn, because it just kind of looks like when you squeeze a tube of toothpaste. Um, this is a gift from a friend, both the spindle and the fiber, gift from a friend. And I haven't really done much with it yet. This was the first ever spindle that I got. I've had this for almost 15 years. It is, if I remember correctly, it's like 1.4 ounces. Like it is not light. It's very well lacquered. It's got a good finish. It's great to learn on. I really liked it for that. I don't like spinning heavy that much from the drop spindle because it stresses my wrists too much. So I have this really light Bosworth spindle, which I got at Rhinebeck, and I believe is in the neighborhood of uh, just under 1 ounce. I don't know what this is. It's just some random yarn. This is leftovers from a sweater spin, and this is some silk that was on a bobbin that I just put on a bouncy ball, which I think is just good bobbin storage. This is truly the odds and ends, like partials is another bouncy ball. Partials from a project. So like this is one that I was specifically doing fly on the fly. In fact, I was doing it on this spindle, so I kind of want to keep those together. Ugh, it's very humid. No, either the bag is broken or it's too humid. No, the bag is broken. It's like 100% broken. But I try and keep some things that make sense together. This is just random scraps left over from a project. This is some extremely beautiful fiber from KnittyAndColor. This is the leftovers from a singles project that I did with this whole braid. This one ended up a little skinnier, so I wanted to kind of experiment with it. I just haven't done that yet. And then I have my Turkish spindle from, I think, is this a Snyder? Yeah, it's a Snyder. And that's 25 grams or 0.9 ounces. You can see Newton just spin around in the bottom left corner there. And then this is whatever this project is. I honestly don't think that there was a explicit plan for this. I think this is just like I made a bunch of faux legs and I was spinning them all on the Snyder spindle. And a lot of my projects just get abandoned because, again, spindles are putting a lot of strain on my body, which is a shame. I really like spinning from a spindle. I think it's fun. I think they're beautiful. I think what they produce is lovely. Using a wheel is actually just easier physically on my body. And I don't know what, I just have two random Rolex thrown in there for unknown reasons. I do not know what those are. But I'm like, I've decided I'm okay with this bin kind of just being the like grab and go, right? So a lot of it is just, I can pick something up from in here and just kind of go with it. The big boy uh, is pretty much where my undyed, unblended fiber is living. So I have more of that. Okay, so apparently Shetland alpaca silk blend is what I was showing you before. So I have more of that. This big hunk is some Shetland top. I've got some small bags of an Icelandic fleece that I was given part of at one point. I have these lovely locks that are not labeled, but they're very pretty. This is a a bag of Cormo roving that I picked up at Print back many years ago. Probably really go through this. This is another bag of some random lots of something. Beautiful and gray and a little, seems like a little natty. Which would imply to me that this has definitely been washed. Um, but it still feels kind of little lanolin. What is it, a lanolin? Oh yeah, I can feel it on my hand. Some of this stuff is deep, deep stash. This is oatmeal BFL that I've had for a very long time. Clearly, I used some of it at some point. And then these are a bunch of colored bits of, I think it's Ashland Bay, maybe. I weighed them all by color. This is kind of an aspirational stash right here where it's waiting for me to have a drum carder to play around with some color a little bit more. And then I have a couple of bags of Angora that were given to me by somebody who had an Angora rabbit, who I happen to know from work. This is set aside specifically as a unique project because I did experiments in color blending. I've got two very vibrant, shall we say, colors that I don't love on their own, but I did experiments with swatching and blending to get the color ratios. This is my notes on it, and which one I ended up liking out of the. I think this might actually. Oh no, this is what the original makeup of everything is, but it's a very attention requiring project. Meaning it's not just, it is the opposite of grab and go. It is sit down, plan out, weigh things, look at percentages, all of the stuff that I don't always feel like doing right away. Uh, Not pictured is a box that has over a pound, close to 2 pounds Corriedale. This is the raw fiber as it comes. And then these are experiments I did with natural dyeing using different mediums. And I particularly like this more vibrant yellow. So I plan to dye this whole section the same way that I did, which I don't do a lot of dyeing, but this was with safflower to get the bright yellow. And I think the paler yellow was with chamomile. This is another color experiment. Again, very bright pink, very bright purple. Don't love them. This one, very like Darden inspired. Don't love it on its own, but I'm trying to blend the two, find a way that they play nicely with each other, that they tone each other down. And I'm still experimenting with that. I didn't love my first results in it, so back to the drawing board with me on that one, but they're very, very good. This is the last of just kind of what's sitting out. And this is because it's a recent acquisition and I think is incredibly beautiful. It is a bat from Fossil Fibers, which I believe is for, no, it wasn't for the Tour de Fleece. I thought it came out with her set for that. It goes very nicely with it. But eye candy is nice, right? So that's the stuff that I just kind of have sitting around. Everything else lives in one of these giant totes, which I think is like what is this? 62-liter tote. That's not going to make for good television. So this is really digging into the dyed fibers that I've accumulated for the most part. So here you can see I have some more full braids and blends. I've got more of the toothpaste fiber. I've got some random, what are, like, this is called fiber morsels. These are what are they called? Nubecitas? The little Newton Malabrigo nubes. And then a couple of full braids here. This is going to be a project together. It was going to be a really fancy shawl for somebody's wedding, but the timeline did not permit for that. So that's going to kind of sit a little on the back burner, but I think I'm still going to make an incredible lace weight with it at some point. I'm an applying pair from Green Coat Branch. Um, these three braids are going to kind of play together similar to the ones in the basket over there. Um, I don't have a plan for everything. I do want to try and get these two to play nicely together. I want to keep the plying pair together. But other than that, you know, and like I said, this is a project goal. Um, but it's nice to just sort of I consider this a fiber library over project to-do list. And then we have some more miscellaneous braids. We've got these two up here from Fossil Fibers. Those are the Tour de Fleece set, along with this one that I picked up from her. I've got this one, which I got at Rhinebeck, a couple that I got from somebody's D-stash. This is the same person who did the one that I'm doing the color experiment, the green and the red experiment with. These I think I'll leave intact. I think these are pretty nice. This braid is already, half of it is already into a skein of sock yarn, so this just needs to be spun to match. Yes, I should have done it in the same project. No, I did not. Second sock syndrome when it's hand spun socks is even worse. I have a couple of lovely, luxurious, incredibly soft braids here and here from Port Fiber in Portland, Maine, which was my local fiber shop when I lived up there. And then a bat and braid set here, and a couple of, this is the rest of that, the fiber from that color experiments. This one was the orange, was the other half of the orange. But I think I set that aside to live on its own. And then this one is from Rhinebeck many years ago. I think this might even be from when I went to Rhinebeck the first time when I was in college. I think that's been kicking around for a long, long time. And then to kind of just round it out, this is some bats. So this one, and these little batlings are all bat carded bats. Over here, we've got a couple of silk hankies. This is an incredibly generous half pound, so 8 ounces of merino yak silk that was somebody's D-stash. I've never spun yak, and so I'm very intimidated by this blend. But I want to get my hands on it so bad. There's some sari silk here, which I'm toying with the idea of blending in with some of the Corriedale that I'm working on, the dye project. These are silk cocoons that I never really looked too deeply into how to process. So that's been a future project for way too many years. These are just kind of bonuses that got tossed into some orders, including some mohair locks, and then some actual Wensleydale onto the camera. Some amazing Wensleydale locks that I'm actually thinking I'm going to either weave with when I focus on learning weaving, or that I'm going to try knitting with them directly onto the needles. That'd be fun. Um, it's always inspiring to me to remind myself what I have. And there were some things that weren't included, not much, But I do have some more of those little bits and bats. I think they're 10 grams each or so, that were specifically sock yarn or sock fiber, I should say. So nylon, superwash merino. Um, that is currently on one of my spindles. I have a Turkish. You know what? Let me show you actually. This is my Jenkins Turkish Delights. I've chosen to do a very pretty copy, even though it's not the most efficient when it comes to how I'm going to apply it later. But it's very pretty to look at while I'm spinning it. Slow going because of my wrist, having some soreness, but I did a lot of work on it over a couple of weeks. And it's just a little guy, little big leaf maple. And look at that, not only did I clear the table, but I also put that BFL into the basket. So I my philosophy with stash is simply this. I collect when I can, so I have when I can't. I have tons of fiber. I have so much fiber, and I am happy to be able to choose from what I've collected over the past 10 to 15 years that I have been spinning. Do I need a stash as extensive as I have? No. Nobody needs a stash as extensive as I have. Uh, am I happy that I have the stash? Yes, absolutely I am. I have a lot to choose from when it comes to this Tour de Fleece, and my expectations are not that I will get to everything or that will get through everything that I start, but that I will be inspired to have a starting point. Just looking at these incredible pieces side by side, I think I want to create something with all three of these. I want to spin this into a rainbow gradient, red to purple, and then apply it with these two. Do I know exactly how I'm going to do that yet? Absolutely not. And that's half the fun of the entire project is figuring out all of those along the way steps. Sometimes I like to spin with an end result, a sweater, a shawl, a garment of some sort at the end of it. But most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, when I sit down at my wheel, I just want to enjoy the process of spinning. It's not about the specific yarn that I get at the end. Yes, I want to enjoy what I have made, but it's about the planning. It's about actually creating it. It's about finding that inspiration. I hope some of this has been enlightening and helpful, and that you've enjoyed this little dance through my stash. Uh, as always, I am still a knitter, and I will see you in the next video. Lost my train of thought because of cat. You're very distracting. Hi. Hello, Mr. Do you wish I was paying attention to you instead of to the camera? Yeah. Was that always what you want? Yeah.